Arguably one of the most fun parts of the off-season ending outside of racing coming back is all of the questions we have. Really, it's a mystery box when it comes to every season. Yeah, there's things we expect, but there's tons of questions that we want answered. It's almost like starting another chapter of a really good book you're reading. And today, I want to get and pose 8 big questions for the 2025 NASCAR season. The biggest one, I think, is what will come out of the 2311 and Front Row lawsuit against NASCAR. Unless something unforeseen happens, it looks like this is going to be the biggest story, overarching and overall, in 2025. How could it not be? 2 ascending teams suing NASCAR and having a lot of stuff already come out and a lot of back and forth. While 2311 and Front Row are going to be able to still race with charters, they've won that much so far, anything against them is going to be hyper-analyzed by fans and probably at least non-biased NASCAR media. You can probably see a lot of the stock NASCAR media that's paid and bought and paid for, all probably just wanting to gloss over it, but it's going to be a big deal with fans. If a Front Row car 2311 gets a borderline or just frankly unfair penalty, it will be a huge story and everyone's going to be crying about favoritism, maybe rightfully so. What unknown business practices as well from NASCAR and those in the sport could also come out in all of this. And questions like this could be opened up all year long, and it could be something that is damning for those who run the sport we love. For the on-track and competition side, I think the biggest question is, who can dethrone Team Penske? It's an odd year, so Joey Logano won't win, but there's 2023 champion Ryan Blaney still on that team as well, who's really good at Phoenix, and they also have Austin Cindric.
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready!
But with the championship race at Phoenix, as aforementioned, if any of them make it all the way, they already have a huge advantage and are seen as the favorites. How could they not be? They have been absolutely dominant in the next-gen car at this track, and if they don't win the race, they're usually leading the most laps in the race. But I will say this, some teams have challenged them so far at this track and at tracks like it. Hendrick Motorsports will always be up there. It's a juggernaut of this sport and overall is probably the most well-rounded team. And Joe Gibbs Racing has also been pretty darn good here as well. While data says they should keep it up for a 4th straight year, the Cup Series is rarely made up of dominance like that for more than 3 years at a track or in general. Another big one is what further changes could be made to the NASCAR playoffs. As of recording this video, no changes have been announced in 2025, though that could change. But it's really been hinted that 2026 is going to be the year of a really big move. I think that the way that the schedule is currently made up is probably going to be a big hindrance in changing anything majorly in the structure of the playoffs, whether it be rounds or a 10-race chase itself or anything else they might conjure up. And I think that the changes could vary, but fans have generally been looking for a system that has maybe less going off of chance and more going off of who's been good both for the entirety of the season and just in general at the end. Either a longer championship round, which has been asked for, which is maybe 3 races or longer, or a no win and you're in or win in advance. Winning's important, but maybe it's been overvalued championship-wise. Or maybe, again, back to a 10-race chase, which if we have to have a chase or playoff, I'm okay with it. I'm on that boat. And or maybe all the above with it, who knows. But one way or another, this question needs to be answered probably by the playoffs this year, so fans maybe have a tempered backlash if something happens again. Another big one is the new broadcasters, and the question is, what will these new broadcasters bring to the table? The new ones being Prime Video, TNT with Turner Sports, as well as the CW with NASCAR Studios joining the NASCAR schedule gauntlet. Prime will be the first exclusively streamed broadcast for NASCAR ever in this modern era. Without normal TV restrictions, I'm going to be really interested to see what new ideas they can come up with and bring to the table, and in what ways can they maybe bring NASCAR broadcasts past the 2000s into the modern era. I know a lot of people aren't crazy about having to pay for it, but we pay for basic cable for a hell of a lot more for the most part, and this is something that I think is really going to lay the groundwork possibly for the modern era. TNT is a returning partner, but nowhere near the same as what it was in 2014. With the connection of HBO and Bleacher Report, the social media and streaming of practice and qualifying, I want to see how they can improve over old coverage as well, and how they're able to more branch out to a younger audience. So far, there hasn't been much in that way, but there's going to be a lot more of a machine probably hyping up as we get closer. And then the CW is back, but it is nowhere near the same as it was in 2024. NASCAR Productions is producing these broadcasts, and I'm curious to see the production value, because if it ends up being really good, or they're not having to have as many commercials, and it works out, maybe come 2031, we could see drastically improved broadcasts for truck and Cup Series races. I think a question that's been overlooked by a lot of fans so far, because it's not really been put out there as much, is will the in-season tournament work? Now, this is meant for fun, bragging rights, and for the winners, money. And for the fans, this has nothing to do with the championship, so I think we can at least take a breath on freaking out about it and have a little fun with it. TNT did have, partially with the NBA, a in-season tournament, and NASCAR is also at Denny Hamlin's tournament bracket as well during the year, so this isn't foreign. Will it change the racing, or will they really not care that much, and however it folds out, it folds out? Another thing that's been kind of put on the back burner as of late is the new video game, and the question is, can iRacing release a good game? As NASCAR fans, we have long struggled with diminishing return on NASCAR games. It's gotten worse and worse ever since the peak of the EA days back in the 2000s, but iRacing has made big promises, and that's great and all, but there's no results just yet. And until there are good results, there is going to be trepidation with this game. Ignition feels like a rock bottom, but so did some of the Heat games before it. And just because Ignition was rock bottom does not mean we need a game like Heat Evolution that was a little bit better but still sucked. There needs to be a base to build on for the future and real openness from the developers of what is to come. While unfair, they have to clean up the mess that Motorsport Games made and the PTSD the fandom has for that. Another question for the on-track is, will NASCAR be able to fix the next gen's flipping issue? The next gen has flipped a lot. Last year, it seemed to happen more and more, and at one point it was almost a weekly occurrence of a car going over. And this has been an issue since the 2022 Daytona 500. Now, granted, cars have flipped since the beginning of this sport, and nothing bad has happened so far yet. But NASCAR has a dangerous history of being reactive instead of proactive, and it's all well and good until a car ends up going into the catch fence and hurting 100 fans. And NASCAR has a big history of big changes when cars fly and needs to live up to that for the safety. Safety is questioned one way or another with this car, and they need to fix it. And for a last fun question, who is going to be the surprise of 25? Every year we got one. It could be a young guy who no one sees coming. It could be somebody with a career year. It could be a huge underachieving year as well, a bad surprise. But with teams like Spire and Front Row and others making their way up and starting to grow, there could be a big jump from somebody, and it easily could be one of their drivers. Maybe it's somebody in a new ride, like Ryan Preece with RFK in the 60. One way or another, there could be somebody who shocks us all, and I think as a fan base, we got to be ready for it. Now, before heading off, I do want to remind everybody the new season of NWP premieres on my channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time Thursday night, so be sure to watch that. But with all of this, I do want to ask some big questions, and a big one here. What are your big questions you have for 2025 in NASCAR? Let me know down in the comments below, because you probably thought of some better ones than I did. While you're at it, leave a like in this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support, and until next time, have a good one.